Welcome to the Couple League PeakDay podcast, where we talk about faith, family, fertility, and natural family planning with our friends. Today's guest is Florencia Moynihan, best known as the Catholic Nutritionist. Flo is a nutritional therapy practitioner, femme instructor, a women's health advocate, and host of the Made Good podcast. Through her own journey from exhaustion and frustration to healing, she discovered the power of a root cause, faith-filled approach to women's health, one that integrates body and soul and helps women understand how God designed their bodies to function. Flo is the author of Made Good, Overcoming the Lies That Keep Women at War with Their Bodies. And today we're diving into how understanding fertility, nutrition, and faith can bring real freedom and lasting health. Thank you, Flo, for being on the PeakDay podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Martha.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for this interview. So becoming a nutritional therapy practitioner, Flo, what you shared that you were an exhausted missionary struggling to figure out your health. What did that season of your life look like?
You know, it's so funny. I became a nutritional therapy practitioner because I finally learned my cycle. That was the biggest turning point for me in my health. So I was someone who kind of always really struggled with my health, whether it was like my period and being very, very painful and just being written off 1,000 times that my symptoms, my only solution was birth control. And then I had gut issues that bothered me every single day. And then I had a really disordered relationship with food and my body image. But it wasn't until I learned how to properly track my cycle that I was like, hang on, there's data that I can just read, and these things aren't normal, and they are actually like red flags that point to something. Because the worst thing is when you're like, I know that these things are problems, but I think that there's not a solution.
Right.
That's the most frustrating part, when you're like, oh, I just have to deal with this. So I became a nutritional therapy practitioner, I don't know, a year and a half-ish after learning to track my cycle, because that was what finally opened my eyes to the way that I was honestly abusing my body with food. And that my body was not handling it the way that I thought that I could just like muscle through it. And then getting to understand that you could really use food to heal in a way that finally clicked. Like I believed it and I sought it out, and I like really had a holistic perspective from a younger age. But it wasn't until I saw that there was a direct connection between using food to heal and that I could use it actively and stop being at war with food and with my body that everything really began to change for me.
Yeah. So you really thought that your body was broken, that there was something wrong with your body.
Yes. And like cycle specifically, I thought that it was just kind of like the curse that's placed on you that's genetic. Like if it's just like, oh yeah, this is just how it is within our family.
Right.
And that I didn't realize how much of your cycle is really just outputs that show the inputs that it's been given. I didn't realize how much the chaos that I was putting out was putting chaos back out, and how much really can be changed. And that, like, yes, of course, it's kind of that idea of like genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger, and not recognizing that it's like, sure, even if we have certain tendencies or predispositions, the way that you eat, you live, you move, your stress has a major impact on what you're going to see in your day-to-day body.
Right. So learning your cycle was kind of that turning point.
Yeah, because it also finally gave me something to see that was deeper than what I looked like. And it was deeper than like, I'm so overwhelmed by symptoms. But it was starting to give me a strategy and pulling back the curtain and saying like, oh, my body wants to do these things. It's designed to do certain things, and it's really, really struggling to do so. Well, could it be the fact that I'm like not eating is really affecting it, or the fact that I've like cut out every single thing except for like meat has really affected me? And so it was that kind of eye opener of being like, okay, now I'm getting real data. And because otherwise you can just convince yourself that what you're doing is working.
Right. Just having that something that you can point to and focus on, rather than just spin in your head about like what's wrong with me and how bad I am because I can't, or I won't, or I don't, that kind of thing. Yeah.
It made me kind of want to get on the same team for maybe one of the first times in my life of being like, oh, I want to help you, rather than feeling like, oh, you're my enemy. You're working against me. You never work how I want you to work. It made me be like, wait, I want to see this improve and I want to help.
Right, right. So you talk about root cause,
Mhm.
foundations first approach to health. What does that mean, and how is that different from what many women experience, like with conventional care?
Yeah. Well, think about the conventional, the most common womanly experience is you're going to wait a couple of months for a 15 minutes doctor's appointment where they're going to talk to you for like 2 minutes. And by the end of it, it's like, well, I don't know, stress a little bit less, drink some water. Your labs all look fine. There's no point in testing anything else, or I refuse to test anything else.
Hmm.
And I don't know, come back in 6 months if this is still bothering you. Otherwise, the only other option I have for you is this medication. Or, you know what, that problem, that's not something I can talk to you about. Let me shuttle you off to the next specialist. So we get divided up into all of these different parts. Like that is, at least my and all my clients, that is like our classic experience
Yeah, yeah,
of it being like you're split up, you feel like you're not heard, you feel like something is wrong, but no one will tell you. So then at that point, you're like, am I crazy or no, everyone else is crazy? Like, no one will believe me.
right,
Um,
right,
so when we talk about root cause, we're considering that a lot of the times, if you imagine a tree, the symptoms are like the leaves on the tree. It's what is very obvious. You can see it to the naked eye. You are noticing this day in and day out.
mm, yeah,
Doesn't mean that it's the actual root. So, for example, let's say really severe acne, bloating, and PMS that happens every single month and knocks you out for like 2 days straight.
yeah,
Those are symptoms. Symptoms are meant to communicate deeper issues. Symptoms are your body's only way of communicating with you. So
right,
instead of being really, really frustrated with our symptoms, we actually can use them as like a little GPS system and say, okay, why? And where does this lead? And what
mm,
is underneath the surface in the roots is, you know what? The bloating is because there's like a serious bacterial imbalance within the gut,
mm,
or the PMS is because the fatty acid balance is off. Their progesterone is low because you are so stressed, you don't sleep, and your blue light is completely throwing off your hormones, and you're on your phone for like 5 hours every single night.
yeah, yeah,
The acne is that actually connected to the same gut infection. Hello, we found both things on the same time, right? So it's
yeah,
things that might not be that obvious. You do have to do extra digging for, but that's the
hmm,
beauty of a holistic and functional approach is that the
right, right,
digging, like we don't just want to stop, and we don't just want to medicate away symptoms, right?
right, right,
As people, there are a lot of medications, and this is not like medical advice, but there are a lot of medications that can stop the symptom, but then what? Right? So there's a lot of medications that you can go on that will help clear up your skin. But then when
right,
you want to get off of it, then what happens? Or you have really painful periods. This is a big story for a lot of women. You have extremely painful periods. You're put on birth control for 5, 10, 15 years, and then you want to
yes,
start a family. So now what are we going to do? What are we going to do when those PMS symptoms come back? Like, how do we actually resolve it and help the body heal and restore?
exactly, yeah, yeah. So instead of just treating those symptoms in isolation, you treat a woman's body, as an integrated whole, right?
Yeah, we have a certain symptom, we'll go and try and cherry pick some kind of information
Right.
because you probably have gone to people and been written off. You probably are really desperate for answers. And I think it's a good thing to like go out and seek answers for yourself and get in the driver's seat of your health. I think
Right.
the dilemma is when we feel like we have to do it completely alone and we don't have the proper support or the proper context that we can actually find healing rather
Right.
than leading to way more frustration, which I could get into how much frustration I caused myself by DIYing
Yeah.
everything, but it's a
Yeah.
relatable situation.
Well, let's jump back into
Root cause.
yeah. We
Why
talk,
finding the root properly is so important and
yeah,
having
right,
context in
right.
your health.
Yeah, you talk about leaning into the way God designed the feminine body, right?
Mhm.
So how does faith shape the way you approach women's health?
I get this question all the time that I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm the Catholic Nutritionist. That's the name of my practice. Okay, so
Yeah.
what does that mean? Like, it'll be like, what does like Catholicism have to do with nutrition?
Yeah.
I have only ever been Catholic, so I can only speak from a Catholic perspective. That's
Sure.
one thing. Two, Lord knows I wasn't about to start my own practice and not have the freedom to talk about our creator. Second thing. Third, as Catholics in particular, we have a very profound, well formed, and intricate understanding of the human person.
Hmm.
There's a very, very deep understanding of the human person.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
we're talking about holistic approach, we're not just talking about like, oh, all of the systems in the body combined. We're also talking about mind, body, and soul,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Literally this past week, we were on our program, we have our weekly coaching calls. One of our beautiful clients comes on and she's like, hey, I'm like really struggling to stick with this, and that habit. I had this difficult situation come up. I'm struggling to get back on the horse. But the way that she was talking, I was like, this isn't a habit thing. And I was like, hey, when was the last time you went to confession? And she was like, yeah, it's been a minute. So
Wow.
sometimes the holistic approach is being able to be like, hey, we're body soul composites and it's going
Amazing.
to impact it. The second piece is that
Yeah.
we do have a certain understanding of how to be good stewards, that we want to honor body God gave us. We care about our fertility. And so there's a lot of the soul and the heart pieces that are the why as to why you are working on your health. Why is it so important for you to figure out your fertility? Why does it bother you so much
Mhm.
that your skin isn't clear and you're like uncertain about going on dates, right? So it's really just the most holistic approach we could possibly have,
Right.
as well
Right.
as it being people that like you're on the same page. And something that people are typically hesitant about with a holistic approach is that you're like, what is this person going to tell me? Like sometimes things can get a little woo woo, a little new age, a little bizarre.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
it's we wanted to make a space where you could get holistic care that was going to help you and protect your mind and your soul.
Right. Right. So, what do you think our culture gets the most wrong about women's bodies and our cycles?
That it's erratic, and that there's just like no rhyme or reason behind why these things are happening.
Mm.
And I do also think our culture can push this idea that you can just do whatever you want. And it's shocking that your body isn't working right, rather than it being like, you were created by a good God who has good plans for you. That is
Right.
my obsession. That like you were created, you were made good, you were handmade
Yeah.
by a loving God. And he also doesn't like make things that don't make sense, right? Everything God does has order in it. And so a lot of times we're just completely missing like the owner's manual to our feminine bodies. And that's what's causing so much frustration. But it's like, yeah, well, you just have no idea how this thing works. So if you knew, we could like kind of dissipate a lot of the frustration. So there's this kind of idea that we're just like
Mhm.
little products of amoebas multiplying and floating through space and nothing really matters, and like
Right.
either the body matters too much or it doesn't matter at all. But instead of being like, there is proper order, and we have to form our minds first,
Mhm.
we do have to properly
Mhm.
understand the way that the body was designed to function, what
Right.
causes dysfunction, and how do we get it back into balance. I think there's a big
Right.
lack of continuity in it, being like, this isn't just a random bits and bobs all put together. There's structure and there's order here.
Right, right. So for women who kind of feel disconnected or even resentful toward
Yeah.
their bodies, where do you encourage them to begin?
Yeah. Back to the garden. We have to go back to the garden. We have to go back to Genesis, which
Mhm.
is, you mentioned my book, Made Good.
Mhm.
My thesis of my life, not just of my book,
Yeah.
is that your entire life will look different and transform if we can receive and restore our identity as beloved daughters and believe that the Lord made you good
Mm.
and receive those words from the Father, which is like way harder than any health protocol I could ever give you. But to really be able to go back to the beginning before all of your health was chaotic, before you had all these lies and fears and frustrations towards your body. What was it like in the beginning? And for some of us, that's being like, okay, when I was little, when I was just like free, what
Yeah.
did that feel like? And what was God's original plan for my body? And do I
Right.
believe that He has a plan, and He has a plan for my heart and for my healing, and that I can trust Him with that?
Mm.
Because moving from that place, if you're like really, really frustrated, there's no protocol that is going to change the fact that there is like a deeper wound here, and that there needs to be a restoration of identity. And
Mhm.
you need to hear the Father say, like, I know that you're frustrated and I have a plan. That He doesn't just like watch you suffer and be like, that sucks. Like, I either can't help you, or you're not doing enough for me to help you, or like, I don't really care that you're suffering. None of
Mhm.
those things are true. Those are all lies from hell. So
Mhm.
to be able to like see where Jesus is, I say the Father, it could be Jesus. I know that there can be a lot of, wounds and trauma there too, but to like look at the Lord and to hear what He has to say about you first, and then to know that you're not an orphan, and that like whatever it is that the health struggle that you're going through, some of them we can resolve on this side of heaven. Some of them are our cross, and it's
Mhm.
going to be part of their plan for redemption. I'm not saying that every single thing you're going to be able to pray it away. That's just not true.
Mm.
But to at least know that he's with you, to know that he calls you good, no matter what it is that you're suffering and no matter what your hopes and dreams are for your healing, but
Yeah.
to know like his intimacy and his closeness and his love for you and the
Mm.
goodness and mercy that he offers you, it will just change the way that you live. It changes the way that you eat, the way that you work out, the way that you try to get answers to your health if you know that he's with you.
Mm-hmm. So that true healing really does bring that freedom. So with the women that you work with, what does that look like when
Yeah.
women finally do find that healing freedom?
Mm. There's a light.
Mm.
There's a light that will come. There's like a light that will begin to radiate. There's also like a lightness. There's a freedom. There's
Yeah.
like a playfulness that can come back.
Mm.
And one thing that everyone hears me say 1,000 times is it is good to be little
Mm.
and good things take time.
Mhm.
And if it's not slow, it's not human. And so, like, it's good to be little. It's good to not have it all figured out. It's good to let yourself be like a little girl and little child again in the
Mhm.
Lord's eyes and to be
Mm.
like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do my very best. Because if we're being honest, like perfectionism and this like grueling
Mhm.
severity that we often have with our bodies
Yes.
doesn't actually move the needle. It actually makes things worse.
Mm.
And so when we can have this playfulness again of being like, okay, like I have this joke that I'm God's favorite daughter. It's not because I think that I'm better than anyone. It's because he loves me so much and I feel his love so much that I'm like, I must be his favorite. Like, how could he
Right.
possibly be this generous to me?
Oh,
And this like sweet and loving. But
right.
this
Right.
idea of it being like, yeah, God is going to work all things for my good and like everything's going to work out for me, whether it makes sense to me or not. Like, I'm going to believe that he's going to do good things. And there's just a certain freedom that can come in when we get to have that intimacy and that closeness again. And with that, there's like the actual principles of like psychological healing and nervous system restoration. And
Mm.
we're not in stress mode anymore. So like your mineral status can stay a little bit healthy and we're not causing so much inflammation in the body. Like as cutesy as it might sound, it's actually incredibly essential and profound. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's
the
the
word I was thinking
foundation.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the word flow, profound. Yeah, because I'm just imagining a weight
Yeah.
coming off of so many women's shoulders because we think about so much.
Yeah.
We have a lot of weight that we carry around and being at peace with our bodies. Just imagine. Ugh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's amazing. So, how does healing a woman's relationship with her body impact maybe her relationships with her family and maybe her relationship with her children?
Yeah, great question. We work with a lot of moms, and one of the most common things we'll hear is my husband or my kids like notice. They'll be like, "Mom, you're so fun these days." Or like, "Mom, you're so happy." Or the
Oh,
husband being like, "Hey, like you feel
oh,
different." Or I can tell that you're more confident. I can tell that you're proud of yourself. Or I can tell that like you're a little bit more resilient to stress, or husbands have a way of
mhm,
they
mhm,
know how to be smart with it, but it being like,
right.
yeah, or the women will be like, my temper isn't as bad as it used to be, like I'm not
Yeah.
snapping the moment that something goes wrong. So they're one of the biggest things that I want every single woman to know is that you learning how to take care of yourself and you doing the work and the healing work of not just believing that your body is made good, but how does this work, Lord? And what would it take to get into restoration? And like, what could freedom look like for me? People
Right.
think like, well, I'm focusing on myself, so it must be selfish. It must be
Mhm.
self-centered to care about those things. But the truth is that wherever you go next, your body's going with you. Like we're not little angels that just float around. You have a nervous system, you have a brain, you have a gut, you have skin, you have a cycle. And so when we can do the work to properly restore and support these things, the overflow into the rest of your life, even right now, let's say people that aren't married, we're starting a little fat loss sprint with some of our graduates. And one of the most common things that I'm seeing in the forums is, yeah, I do want to lose weight because I want to be confident enough to go out on dates. Like it's really affecting me that I feel like I'm like getting in the way of finding my vocation because I'm just not confident where I am right now. And I'm like, that's actually a really good reason. Like we can do this in the most healthy, hormonally respectful way possible. But
Mhm.
just recognizing that the way that your body is going to impact your soul and the way that you speak to people and the patience that you have and your virtue. And
For sure.
Even just the discipline and the self-control that we can learn from properly taking care of the body, how does
Hmm.
that not impact your entire home? And think about what you're modeling for your
Yeah,
children when
absolutely.
you are that kind of woman.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And we probably don't realize the impact that our health is having on all of the other aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to look at other people though. So sometimes people will be like, you know what? Yeah, like my mom, like if mom wasn't good, the whole house wasn't good.
Mm,
And I want to be different. Or like if
mm,
you grew up in a house that was like, you know what, my mom like really took care of herself and she was always so generous with us. She was so
mm,
patient, all those kinds of
right.
things.
Wow.
Sometimes looking outside of ourselves and being like, hey, what kind of woman do I want to be based off of what we experience can actually really help.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. So Flo, you work with women who are dealing with PMS, fatigue, gut issues,
Yeah.
hormonal imbalance. What kind of patterns do you commonly see beneath all of those struggles?
Yeah. The usual trifecta that I catch and that people come with is some kind of combination of a cyclical issue, which could be PMS or anovulatory cycles or irregular cycles, some kind
Mhm,
of energy issue, so fatigue during the day, feeling like you're like 30 going on 80, or struggling with sleep properly.
mhm,
So again,
mhm,
leading into that fatigue during the day. And then either some kind of gut or relationship with food issue.
mhm,
And these three, when we look at labs and we look for red flags and like what could we do,
mhm,
first we focus on the foundations, which I think you asked me earlier and I didn't even explain. But when it comes to a foundational approach to
mhm,
health, that
mhm.
means that there are essential building blocks that cannot be skipped. The foundation to a home. We can't just be like, no, let's save that for later. Let's blow the whole budget on the shingles. Let's get the best shingles we can find. Doesn't matter. Your entire house is going to sink in the first day.
Right.
So we can't get into the fancy stuff. We can't get into the advanced stuff. We can't get into the fun stuff. We can't get into the unnecessary stuff
Mhm,
until we have set the foundation, the
right.
groundwork, your
Right.
circadian rhythm in your sleep, your stress, the way that you're eating, nourishing your body properly, your movement, your strength training, understanding your cycle properly. So those foundations need to be laid first.
Mhm,
Typically, some of the main drivers of chaos that we see is dysregulated circadian rhythm. This is my favorite foundation of all times because nobody
mm,
talks about it.
yeah. Yeah.
But it runs the entire show. So your cycle health, your gut health, your skin, your sleep, your energy, every single process in your body is designed to work like clockwork. The question is it getting the proper signaling, which your body runs off of light and dark? Does it get the proper signaling to do so? The amount of disease, cancers, disorders, and dysfunction that are tied to a disrupted circadian rhythm is well researched. The studies are everywhere. We know this. We know that rates of Alzheimer's and certain cancers are higher if there's light at night or blue light at night, or we sleep in a room that's not dark enough, right? We know all of these things. And
Wow.
think about in our modern culture, everyone has bright blue light in their face at all times.
Yeah.
You have your phone, you have your TV. We also have artificial lights. You don't actually have to live with the rhythm of the sun anymore. You can have all your lights on all night long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not, again, going back to the design piece, that's not what your body was designed for. So it causes this chaos. So typically,
Mhm,
that's one of the main things that we see: stress. And everyone's like, okay, yeah, like I'm stressed. Everyone's stressed. How do I stress less? We do have to do some work to say,
yes.
okay, are there things that need to be delegated or deleted in your life?
Yeah.
How can we have more play? How can we have more fun in your life? We can't just have these grueling, difficult lives. Even Aquinas talks about the importance of rest and recreation. Like it is
Yeah.
to the soul what is sleep to the body. We need to make sure that we have that kind of playfulness in our lives. And I think a lot of women really struggle with that. And it becomes a big thing
Mhm,
that they have to help.
right.
And then there will typically be some kind of hidden dysfunction that hasn't been addressed before: thyroid issues,
Mhm.
Hashimoto's, gut infections, or even just not knowing how to eat. That's one of my favorite things is looking at how someone is eating and being like, oh, there's so much we can change and you're going to feel so much better very, very soon. Because typically, the average person has not been taught how to nourish their body properly. And so that's one
No,
of the most
yeah,
exciting things because you do it
we're
3 times a
fed
day.
all of this stuff from,
Yeah.
through media, through
Yeah.
commercials, through,
All
we've
the
just been,
dieting. Yeah.
oh yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's huge, and I think people underestimate it. because it'll be like, no, I'm probably eating fine, but like, what about the deeper testing? Like what? And it's like, I love the deeper testing as much as the next gal.
Yeah,
Trust
let's
me.
touch on that. It sounds like women aren't just a one size fit all
Yeah.
kind of person. We're,
Mhm.
we're, we're each individual. So individual plans
Mhm.
can be more effective, is what you're saying with
Yeah.
your
Es-
testing and
Especially if you're someone who's like typically the average person does better with data. Behavior change is challenging. There's, it's easy to go on a walk, but it's also easier not to. So if you have data that drives why you are going to make certain behavior changes, that can
Mhm.
drive the identity shift of, oh, I am someone who takes care of their body because I want to be well. I don't want to go on the path that this is going down.
Mm,
Can
yeah,
help a ton. So it can help with the behavior change first, which is the hard, because I could tell you 15 things that you should do right now every single day, but
yeah.
until it makes sense for you, you're probably not going to do it.
Mm,
And the second piece is that there's a lot of patterns that we can find early before we're in like a crisis zone. So that's the
mhm,
unfortunate thing
mhm.
about the modern conventional blood work, for example, is built to run off of disease ranges.
Yeah,
And so it's going to get flagged once it's like a problem.
right,
But what if we could actually help you with your blood sugar way before there's a diabetes diagnosis?
right, right.
What if we could look at the patterns and say, hey, something isn't functioning correctly within your thyroid. Let's start supporting that
Mhm,
now. What
mhm,
if we can find patterns of inflammation or even of stress within your body before it gets to the disease state? And that's really what preventative care is about.
mm, yeah. So your book was titled Made Good.
Mhm.
Why do we need to be told that we are made good, Florencia?
A lot of women live in the opposite.
Mhm.
And either painfully so, maybe it was spoken
Yeah.
over them by someone that was very close to them,
Mm,
or are the war is real. I think that's one of the most important things, is that
yeah,
like if you're thinking about your health, you should definitely be thinking about your soul, because the battle is on. Like
right.
there is a battle for your soul, for your total destruction or for your salvation. And
Mm,
so the battle has been won. We believe that in Jesus Christ, we are more than conquerors. We need not be afraid, but you should know that there is a battle
right.
against your mind. And so when I think about the helmet of hope, like why does St. Paul say the helmet of hope? Like we have to think about how much of our mind is being attacked with discouragement, with lies, with deceit.
Yeah.
And if you think about the way that women talk to themselves, and
Mm,
the way that Catholic women talk to themselves, it literally will bring me to tears, because it's like you're God's baby girl, like you're his baby daughter, and the things are so vicious, and you would never say this to anybody else. And so there's this war that's going on in the back of your mind. You think that that doesn't impact your body? You think that doesn't affect your relationship with God? You think that doesn't affect the way that
mhm,
you treat people and the way you allow people to treat you? Like all of it ties together. So we have to like
yeah.
have weapons. We have to be well armed,
Right.
and we use scripture, we use the sacraments, we use the word of God to be able to make it through this life. And one of our primary concerns needs to be fighting against discouragement, fighting against lies and deceit. And we have to counter it with truth. But do you know what is true? Do you know that it's true that God, everything that he made, he called it good? He called it
Mm,
very good. Like, do you know what that means for you on like a cellular level? That
yeah.
God himself made you and called you good? It just changes everything. So it's
Right.
the opposite, because a lot of women are walking around with terribly vicious
Mm,
and cruel thoughts that are either their own or the evil ones, or coming from
sure.
traumas and wounds and all those kinds of things. And we have to like put up a fight.
Yeah. And we don't realize that it is a war. I mean, your subtitle, when you subtitle a book, it has meaning, overcoming
Mm-hmm.
the lies that keep women at war with their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
The thoughts that we do have, the way we talk to ourselves,
Yeah.
it does have a huge impact and we don't realize it.
Yeah. It's my favorite chapter is chapter 3, which is actually the first chapter that I wrote for the whole book, but it's about ending the war against your body, and it's all of these war analogies. But the main thing I want you to think about is who benefits from you being at war with your body?
Yeah.
What's like what could possibly be the goal there? And who could it benefit if you were completely focused on destroying yourself and
Mm,
on tearing yourself apart?
mm,
I think about Sister Lucia saying the final battle will be against marriage and the family. How much easier is it to destroy a family if it never gets created? How much easier is it to destroy children if you just like completely wreck their mom first?
Mm.
It's so easy. It's so strategic. And so it's like, of course this matters. And women are like, I don't know if it doesn't. Of course it matters. Like, I'm like, I cannot stress enough how much this matters.
Yes.
And that's also why we like speak specifically to Catholic women, because I'm like, I know that your biggest dream is to be a mom. And so you learning how to eat right, like we have to work on this now. This is an important thing to work on now, and getting your cycle right and getting your skin right. All of these things, we have to work on this now. And the time is now. We're I don't know. I don't want to be a crazy person, but we're like running out of time. You know, like we think that we have a lot of time, and we're like, oh, I'll get to this later, or I'll wait until this is in total crisis zone. When it's like, no, the time is now. The time is now. And like God has a plan for you, and he has a plan for your body. And if he's allowing you to go through this battle, it's because he wants you to come out on the other side. It's because he wants you to be a conqueror. I literally could cry about it, but he wants you to win, and he's going to give you the tools to do so. But like, we have to let him fight for us.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So tell us about your made good method. You have the fuel method. So tell us about those like foundational pieces.
So the made good method as a whole, we have the kind of brain side, and then we have the strategy side. So the brain side is, I want you to be back in the driver's seat of your health. So there's a couple of different pieces. First, you need to understand God's design for your body. A lot of people don't know that. So we need to walk through, how does this work? How do different systems work? The what, like, what is it? What is going on? What should it look like? Then we move into tuning in. This is one of the hardest things for a lot of women, because they've had to teach themselves the opposite. Think about when I had my worst periods ever, I needed to like act like it wasn't happening, because I still went to work. I worked 3 jobs. I was a full-time college student, and I drove 2 hours to school every day. So it's like, there's not an option to just be like, let me just tune in and feel how bad this hurts. Like, it was like, I need to override this quick. And so a lot of times, a lot of times we kind of cut off that connection, and we stop paying attention to the signals, or sometimes the symptoms become so familiar that we kind of just learn to live with them. A lot of times I'll have women do a food log, and I'll be like, hey, in your top 5 goals, you didn't mention at all that you're having stomach aches every single day. And they're like, oh yeah, that's right. I like totally forgot that that's not normal. So really just learning how to tune back in. What are the signs and symptoms that your body is giving?
Right.
What does it mean? And then what do you need to do about it? Which is usually the missing piece. It's like, okay, I'm very aware of the symptoms, but I actually don't know how to decode it into an action plan. Okay. So that's really critical too. And then the third piece is the intentional habit formation. So a lot of the times we can get the information, but one, are we implementing it properly? Do you know what needs to happen? And we live a lot of our lives on autopilot, if we're being honest. And so we have to kind of make an intentional effort to be like, okay, no. I don't just wake up, grab my phone, start scrolling, check my email, make a cup of coffee. No, what is an intentional morning going to look like for me based off of how God designed my body and what it's asking for? So that's the more brain piece. Okay. And then in terms of foundations, we work through very specific foundations, partially because it's universal and every single person needs it. And second, because you can actually restore a lot within the body just with these simple factors first. So we move through things like your cycle, your circadian rhythm, your nervous system regulation, your mineral balancing, your nutrition, your exercise, right? Some of those that I mentioned earlier in this episode. So really making sure that we're setting the stage for proper healing. And that's also where we can really start to fine tune the bio-individual needs. So what does the individual person needs? Yes, this is a principle that everyone needs, but what is your body telling us? Okay. And we can move from there.
Right. So let's just touch on the menstrual cycle for a minute as a diagnostic and a healing tool. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So your cycle is one of the coolest things because it is a free health resource and health log that you can start building every single day of your life.
Right.
We've touched on testing, which there is a time and place for testing. I believe that every single woman should be getting comprehensive blood work every single year. I believe that you should have access to deeper functional testing when there's something off, of course. But if we think about cycle testing, right, like getting your progesterone checked, all of those kinds of things, you have to go to the lab and get all these things done. You have to pay for it. But what if you could just read the signs and symptoms within your own charting and be taking care of it every single month. And you could start to recognize patterns, and you could be the one to say, hey, there's a red flag here. Like, I know that I'm going to want to get pregnant this year, but I'm seeing something that's not right. I know that this is not right. So really being equipped and not having to constantly outsource every single piece of your health when you are the only one that can actually make that health log. As much as we want to have people that can kind of take over on certain things, you're the only one that's going to be able to track your cycle and tell us what's going on. And then when you are properly formed and informed on what to look for, what are the red flags, what point do we need to intervene more deeply? What are signs that or I'm speaking kind of negatively. What are the signs that what you're doing is totally working for you? If you're going to change your diet, if you're going to change your exercise, your cycle will show you that it's working. It will, your body will start to thank you. And so it's one of the most invaluable, affordable, strategic, convenient tools that you could possibly have in your health tool belt, especially in 2026 when there's so much else going on.
Yeah. And empowering that knowledge, right? Yeah. Knowing that you can take your chart to your healthcare provider and talk in a, an intelligent and informed way about your cycle, and work as a partner instead of having somebody tell you what to do.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when I was younger, when I first learned how to track my cycle and I started seeing signs of low progesterone. And I was like, oh my gosh, brown spotting, So it was during COVID, so it was only phone calls, but I got into a yelling match with the doctor because I was like, hey, I think I'm having signs of low progesterone and I really want to double check on this. How do you know that? Because I track my cycle. Oh yeah. Well, who told you that that's what that is? She was a very aggressive lady, but I was like, because I track, I know exactly what I'm looking for. And I know the red flags that my body is giving me now. So talk about being able to advocate for yourself and being able to be equipped in a conversation where the hope is that you find someone that totally listens to you, but sometimes you have to kiss a few frogs. And so when you're in those conversations with those frogs, you being able to know, no, I know what I'm seeing. I trust that my body is asking for help. So I'm going to keep looking until I find someone that believes me.
Exactly. Yeah. Because a lot of healthcare providers do not know.
No. Oh, I had another argument with someone once that I was like, hey, I really want to check on this and this hormonal markers. And for like 20 minutes, she's arguing back and forth. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. It's not going to matter. And I was like, what? You're a woman. Why? I was just like, level with me. I was like, why will you not run this for me? And she finally kind of blows up and she was like, because I'm not going to know what it means. She literally was like, I'm not going to know how to read those things that you're asking me for. So like, for what? And I was like, okay, that's all I needed to know. God bless you. Thank you. But yeah, I can tell that there's just a difference in what we're looking for here.
What lies are you most hoping women will finally let go of? And what truth do you want them to replace that with?
That your body is broken and it's just working against you and it kind of has no purpose and it's a lost cause. So why even try? Those are lies from hell.
Yeah.
Your body and your soul are hardwired for redemption. And there's always another way. Like there is always healing that the Lord wants to offer you. And again, I'm not saying that every single health condition will be completely healed on this side of heaven. That's not what I'm saying. But in terms of the journey of seeking out answers and seeking out truth and seeking out restoration, it will lead to bodily restoration or a soul restoration. And so it is worth it. It is worth the effort. And the cool thing about the body is that it does want to work with you. Like it's only ever working for your survival. It wants you to be well. And so if we can kind of change those inputs, especially when we're in the beginning of a health journey, it's just like, I just know that I'm not taking care of it right. There's so much that you can do. And then the second thing is that I think a lot of women walk around with the lie that Jesus doesn't actually care about my body and my healing. And I don't really even go to him about this anymore because I need to go out and fight for this on my own. And again, that's just not true. He is with you and he also knows every single thing that hurts you. He knows every single tear. And so he wants to be with you in it. If you are especially in a place of profound discouragement or frustration, the most miracles he ever did were healing miracles. So we do have evidence that he loves to heal and that he does care about your physical well-being. And then the last one is what I was saying earlier, that taking care of your health or getting really into it is selfish. Of course, we can make an idol out of anything, but the point is to have a well-ordered, um, stewardship minded relationship with our body, and that we're thinking, hey, the way that I treat it now, this isn't just about me. This is going to impact entire generations. Right now, people that I might never meet might benefit and might be blessed by
Mm-hmm.
the effort, the healing, the discipline, the perseverance and tenacity that I practice today.
Right.
It could
Right.
bless people that I might never meet, and that's a really beautiful thing.
Right. Right. Another thought I had was, when a woman, especially a mom, gets her health in order and
Mhm.
embraces her health, um, what kind of impact can that have on her daughters?
Yeah. Even just getting to model for them that, like, they have a mom that doesn't quit. They have a
Mm,
mom that didn't give up. They had a mom that had perseverance, and a mom that they're proud of. Kids watch. They pay attention, and they will become, God willing, they're going to become adults that have fully formed thoughts. And so to say, you know what? Yeah, I watched my mom have discipline, and I watched her be loving and merciful and charitable.
mm,
And she had priorities, and because she like wanted to be able to run with us, and she wanted to be able to like play in the pool with us.
mhm.
And she was really patient, and she taught me a lot about what it means to take care of our bodies, because at the end of the day, your kid is probably going to end up in a situation where they have to care about their body too, you know, especially,
Right.
especially when we think about like the American health system and where we're at right now.
Mm,
It's not great. So
yeah.
if we can really make sure that our children know that they have a model that has already kind of paved the path for them, and they
Mhm.
don't have to go figure this out on their own, that there's someone that they can turn to and
Right.
be like, Mom, what did you do with this? Or like, remember when that happened? Now I'm struggling with this. And really
Yeah.
creating a culture of communication and of health within the home, and that
Right.
you can be someone to guide your children. Because if you're not
Mhm.
going to guide them, someone else will.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just being able to know the language to be able to talk to our
Yeah.
daughters
Yeah.
about their fertility health, about
Yeah.
their bodies in general. That is a huge step because so many of us, we just didn't talk about it with our moms. It was
Yeah.
just not a subject that was handed down to us. That
Yeah.
wisdom, that knowledge wasn't given to us.
And I think sometimes it might be like, oh, but like, what if I'm not equipped to learn that? Like, do I need to become a full-on doctor to be able to have a conversation with my daughter? No, there's a lot of beauty and simplicity. And so
Mm,
even being able to say, like, you know what? I know what isn't normal. I know what this should look like. You know, honey,
mhm.
yeah, you are in a lot of pain. Let's go figure this out together. It doesn't mean
Yeah,
that you're going to have every answer,
right.
but you could be the one that gets to stand in between your
Mm,
daughter and the doctor that's like, she needs to be on birth control, even though she's only 14 years old. Like, that's her
mm,
only option. You get
right.
to be the protector and the one that says, absolutely not. I'm going to find her true healing. And it doesn't mean
Mhm.
you have to know every answer. You just know your best
Right.
next step.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. That's the beauty of our mother-daughter program because the moms and the daughters go through it together, and they
Beautiful.
learn that language together that maybe, the mother doesn't know to
Yeah.
be able to share the beauty of her daughter's fertility and her body with her. And, it does help moms stand up for their daughters and say, yeah, this is not where we want to go. And, gives the daughter, that knowledge
Language.
as
Yeah.
well. So she can talk to, the doctor and say, no, we're not going that way either.
So good. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. That education. Yeah. The woman learning about herself and then being able to pass that on to her girls and her sons too.
Yeah. I know that people are very doom and gloom about where we are in the world right now. That is not how I am. But I
Mhm.
think it's actually really cool. The conversations around cycle, the ease of access that there is now, even compared to 6 to 10 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
is mind blowing.
It has
So
exploded.
I
Yes.
think we're about to see, I'm
Mhm.
hoping, some of the most
Mhm.
body literate generations ever. This
Isn't
next
that
generation,
amazing?
the
Yeah.
girls that are teenagers, they know what cycles are. They know what phases of the cycles are because they're on TikTok and Instagram and it's popular.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Yeah.
like, good, like let's run with it because they're having conversations and the things that I literally could not find, it did not exist
Yeah.
10 years ago, exist now.
Yeah. Yeah. The femtech market is huge. It has
Phenomenal.
exploded.
Yeah.
And we want to be positioned so, we can talk about the moral aspects and, the responsible parenthood side of it.
100%. We have to be like willing to take on this cultural battle and make
Exactly.
sure that it's always for the dignity of the human person. Because if femtech is
Exactly.
going to lead to more IVF, we have a
Yeah.
problem, and we need to be ready to help women. And the amount of IVF and egg
Mhm.
freezing that I'm seeing in women my age that are in their 20s still,
Yeah.
there's a big problem, and we all need to be ready to face it, which means not
Yeah.
just the professionals in the field, but having a conversation with a friend. When the friend comes up and says, yeah, I think my only option is IVF, and being able to be like, okay, how do I help guide this person who's in pain and who has a dream and a heart for a family, but how do we do this in a way that is ethical and God honoring?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it begins with us. All we can do is start with us and
Right.
being well equipped for ourselves and knowing how God made us.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I think you are giving women a very good example of how to do that. Your book was beautiful. Thank you so much for writing that for women.
Thank you.
And your podcast. Are you got anything planned? What's new coming up?
I do. I have so
Whoa!
in
Breaking news.
we have a new kind of content that I'm working on for this spring. So in the fall, I started a little glow up challenge because body soul composites, women really do care about looking and feeling their best.
Okay.
And I also am really passionate about making sure that people know that health can help you live your blessed life. It's not going to get in the way of it. So I'm going off to Europe next month. We're going to be filming some new things for you to eat well. Got a little cooking school that I'm going to under my belt. And really
Ooh.
just making sure that you see someone living it in their real life, because I know a lot of people don't have that in their real life. So
Sure.
I have some really fun things planned for the podcast and for YouTube this year.
Ah, wonderful. Looking forward to that. I got the scoop, huh?
Yeah, I know. I haven't talked about it a ton yet, so this is it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Flint. I really appreciate what you're doing, and thank you so much for being on the Peak Day podcast. I look forward to what's coming next then.
Thank you. And thank y'all. You guys are doing phenomenal work, and
Yeah,
we need this. We need this bad.
yeah. It's a blessing to work in this arena for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.